Have you ever paused to ask yourself, what does intimacy really look like after 60? Not just the physical part, but the quiet moments of touch, the warmth of being truly seen, the comfort of lying beside someone who knows your soul. You see, intimacy doesn't end with age. In fact, for many couples, it deepens. Because with time comes wisdom, and with wisdom comes a new kind of closeness, one that's softer, richer, and more meaningful than ever before. But here's the truth no one talks about. Even the most loving couples can grow distant with time. Bodies change, energy shifts. We stop holding hands, we stop talking about what we really feel, and slowly, the space between two people grows wide and quiet. Maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you still love your partner, but something feels different. You miss the spark, the laughter, the feeling of being wanted, not just needed. The good news, it's never too late to begin again, to learn each other in a new way, to rebuild connection through gentleness, presence, and understanding. Today, we'll explore what intimacy after 60 really means. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, and how you can bring more closeness, confidence, and comfort into your relationship, starting now. So, find a quiet place, take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey to rediscovering love, not as it once was, but as it can be now. When we talk about intimacy after 60, most people immediately think about the body. But what we've learned, what time teaches us, is that true intimacy begins in the mind, long before a kiss, long before a touch. There's something deeper that must happen first. We must feel emotionally safe. Emotional intimacy is the foundation of everything that follows. It's about feeling heard when you speak and seen when you don't. It's the comfort of knowing that your feelings are understood, even when they're hard to express. It's about presence, two people choosing every day to really be there for each other. So many older couples tell me, we talk every day, we live together, but we still feel like strangers sometimes. And I get it. Daily life has a way of pulling us apart with its quiet distractions. Over time, our conversations become about schedules, errands, and who took their medication. We forget to ask about each other's hearts. When was the last time you asked your partner, what are you most proud of this year? What's something you've been thinking about lately, but haven't said aloud? These are the questions that build bridges. This is the emotional touch that matters more than any physical one. Because when a person feels emotionally seen, they relax, they open, they soften in your presence. And that softness, that's where real intimacy begins. So if you want to feel close again, start not with your hands, but with your eyes, your ears, and your heart. Create space for deeper conversations. Choose to listen with patience without trying to fix or hurry the moment. Be curious about your partner's inner world, just like you were when you first fell in love. Because the truth is, we never stop needing to feel known. And when you begin to restore that emotional closeness, you'll notice something surprising. Your connection grows stronger, and with it, a quiet warmth returns, one that will carry you gently into the next part of your journey together. As the years pass, our bodies shift in ways we never quite expected. We notice new sensitivities, a little more stiffness in the joints, a slower rhythm. For some, physical touch might not feel the same as it did 20 years ago. But here's what doesn't change: desire. Desire isn't limited to youth. It doesn't vanish with age. It simply evolves. It becomes quieter, yes, but deeper, more meaningful, less about urgency, more about presence. You don't need to move fast to feel close. You don't need to perform to be passionate. And you definitely don't need to look a certain way to be desired. What you need is permission. Permission to explore your connection in a new way. Permission to slow down and savor. Permission to rediscover each other, not as who you used to be, but who you are now. Because the truth is, physical intimacy after 60 can be more tender, more patient, and more emotionally fulfilling than ever before. But it begins with kindness. Kindness toward your changing body. Kindness toward your partner's needs. And kindness toward the pace of the moment. Sometimes that means more cuddling, more touch without expectation, more moments where you simply lie next to each other, hand in hand, with no rush, because that's the beauty of this season of life. You're not chasing time anymore. You're holding it gently, and when you release the pressure to perform, something unexpected happens. You become more in tune. You listen better. You breathe together, and suddenly, a simple touch on the shoulder, a kiss on the forehead, or a long embrace after a quiet evening walk. These become your new love language. Don't let anyone tell you that aging ends your intimate life. It only changes the way it expresses itself. And when you learn to honor that change, you discover that intimacy in your 60s, 70s, and even 80s can feel more real, more healing, and more powerful than it ever did before. Before touch, there must be trust. And as we grow older, that trust becomes more important than ever. You see, emotional safety is not just a concept. It's the invisible foundation that holds your connection together. It's the difference between physical closeness and true intimacy. Because the truth is, no one opens up when they feel judged. No one feels excited when they feel unseen. And no one surrenders in love if they feel like they're being compared to a younger version of themselves. We all change. Our bodies soften. Our routines shift. Our energy may not be what it once was, but our need to be loved for who we are, not who we used to be, remains. That's where emotional safety comes in. It's when your partner knows they can speak without being corrected. It's when you reach for their hand, not because you need something, but just because you still want to. It's in the little things. The way you make eye contact. The way you respond gently when they forget something. The way you still say, "You're beautiful," or "You make me feel calm," even after all these years. When a woman feels emotionally safe, her body relaxes. She's more open, more responsive, and more connected, not just physically, but spiritually. When a man feels emotionally respected, he becomes more confident, more affectionate, more attuned to his partner's needs. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. Listen when they speak. Touch them when they least expect it without asking for anything in return. And speak to them with the same warmth you would offer a dear friend. Because in this stage of life, emotional intimacy often means more than physical touch. It means knowing someone is still choosing you day after day, moment by moment. And when your partner knows they are safe with you, that they can age beside you without fear of being dismissed or replaced. That's when intimacy deepens. Not with grand gestures, but with the quiet kind of love that says, I still see you. I still want you. I still trust this. In youth, passion is fast, spontaneous, sometimes wild. But in the later seasons of life, passion doesn't disappear, it simply changes tempo. It slows down, and in that slowness, it deepens. You don't need to chase the same excitement you had at 25. You don't need to prove anything. Because at this age, passion isn't about performance. It's about presence. When you slow down, you start to notice things again. The texture of a hand, the rhythm of shared breath, the quiet joy of just lying together in stillness. Slowness gives space for curiosity to return. Instead of rushing through the moment, you explore it. You let the silence breathe. You let the body speak in its own language, one of patience, of trust, of discovery. For many older couples, the reason intimacy fades is not because of lack of desire. It's because everything became too rushed or too routine. It became a box to check off, a task on the calendar, or worse, a reminder of what once was. But if you treat intimacy like something sacred, something worth preparing for, something worth savoring, you begin to reignite the flame that never truly went out. Try this. Start by touching without intention. Hold each other without a destination. Let moments of closeness unfold without trying to get somewhere. Let the kiss linger, let the embrace soften, let the warmth between you speak louder than words. When you move slowly, you say to your partner, I'm not here to rush through this. I'm here to enjoy every second with you. And in that slowness, the pressure fades. The body begins to relax. The mind stops racing, and desire, real, honest, mature desire, starts to emerge again. Slowness is not the absence of passion. It's the space where passion matures, where it breathes and where it comes back to life. Stronger, steadier, and more deeply connected than ever before. There's a kind of touch that doesn't ask for anything in return. No pressure, no expectations, just presence. As we grow older, we sometimes forget how powerful simple affection can be. A hand resting on a shoulder during a conversation. A gentle stroke across the back as you pass by in the kitchen. Fingers intertwined while sitting quietly together at the end of the day. These small quiet moments, they matter. In fact, they may be the most important kind, because for many people in their 60s, 70s, or beyond, what they crave is not just physical pleasure. What they crave is connection, to feel seen, to feel safe, to feel that someone is still choosing them, not out of habit, but out of love. Non-sexual affection is the thread that weaves emotional safety into a relationship. It says, I see you, I appreciate you, and I still want to be close to you. And that message is more powerful than any grand gesture. In many long-term relationships, intimacy begins to fade not because of age, but because touch becomes transactional. It happens only when sex is expected. It disappears from the ordinary moments. But when you bring back those small touches, the brushing of your partner's hair out of their eyes, the warmth of your palm against theirs as you watch a movie, the way you lean in for a kiss just because, something opens up again, walls begin to fall, and the body, which might have felt neglected or invisible, remembers how to trust again. It's in these soft, unhurried gestures that desire quietly returns. Because real intimacy begins before the bedroom. It begins in how you treat each other across the day. So if it's been a while, start small. Place your hand over theirs while you sit at the table. Rest your head on their shoulder for a few minutes before bed. Whisper something kind, something true, something simple. I still love being near you, because often the kind of closeness we long for doesn't come from intensity. It comes from tenderness. And tenderness never gets old. Sometimes the most intimate thing you can do is listen, not fix, not interrupt, not offer a quick solution, but simply listen with your full presence, with your heart open. As we age, conversations can become more about routines than revelations. What's for dinner? What time is the appointment? Did you take your medicine? And somewhere in between the weather report and the grocery list, the soul goes quiet. But deep inside, we never stop wanting to be understood, to be asked, what's been on your mind lately? How are you, really? Many older adults carry a lifetime of thoughts, dreams, regrets, and joys that rarely get spoken out loud anymore. And when no one asks, those stories begin to disappear. Yet, emotional intimacy is built exactly on that. Being known, not just for what we do, but for who we are. When you take time to listen to your partner's worries, or ask them what they've been remembering from their childhood, or simply let them speak without rushing them, you're giving them a priceless gift. You're saying, I still care about your inner world. I still want to know you. And that, more than anything, deepens the bond between two people. You don't need dramatic conversations, just simple ones, like sitting together in the evening and asking, what was the best part of your day? Or leaning in and saying, tell me something you've never told me before. Even if it feels awkward at first, stay there. Even if there are pauses and silences, let them breathe. Because in those quiet spaces, something beautiful begins to grow. Trust. And with trust comes openness. And with openness comes love. The kind of love that isn't about performance, but about presence. So tonight, ask one more question. Listen 1 minute longer, and let the heart of your partner unfold in your hands. Gently, patiently, fully. Because the real foundation of closeness is not what you do together. It's what you're willing to understand about each other. There comes a time in life when everything that once felt rushed starts to ask for a softer pace. The body slows, the breath deepens, the heart begins to long for a different kind of closeness, not built on urgency, but on tenderness. When we're young, intimacy can feel like a race, fueled by hormones, speed, and fire. But as we grow older, something else becomes more beautiful than intensity. Intention. It's not about doing more, it's about being more present. You no longer need grand performances or acrobatics to feel connected. Instead, a slow, mindful touch, a deep gaze, a warm hand resting gently on the chest can say more than words ever could. This kind of intimacy, the kind that doesn't rush, the kind that listens to the rhythm of the body and the soul, becomes more powerful with age. Because now it's not just about pleasure, it's about peace. It's about being accepted exactly as you are. with your wrinkles, your silence, your softness. And in that quiet space, love becomes a sanctuary, not a performance. So many older couples think they've lost passion, when in fact they've only lost permission. Permission to redefine what closeness means. It doesn't have to look like it did in your 20s. It doesn't have to follow anyone else's script. It only has to feel real to both of you. That might mean more time spent holding each other, more focus on emotional connection, or simply lying in bed skin to skin with no agenda except to be close. The gift of growing older together is this: you get to create a new version of intimacy that honors the bodies and hearts you have today. So slow down, breathe together, let the moment stretch, because in the gentleness there is power, and in the stillness, love speaks loudest. As the years pass, something quiet often settles between partners. Not distance, not anger, but a kind of unspoken hesitation. A man may wonder, does she still want me? And a woman may silently ask, am I still beautiful in his eyes? This is the invisible weight that aging can bring, not just in the body, but in the heart. It becomes easier to stop trying, to stop asking, to let doubt fill the space where desire once lived. But here's the truth no one tells you loudly enough. Intimacy doesn't fade because of age. It fades because of silence. When we stop communicating, when we bury our insecurities instead of sharing them, shame begins to take root. And shame is a thief. It steals connection. It steals laughter. It steals the freedom to touch without fear. But confidence can be rebuilt. Not overnight, not with a single compliment, but with small, honest acts of vulnerability. It begins with speaking gently, saying what you need, asking what they feel, admitting what scares you, and discovering, often with surprise, that they've been wondering the same things. This is how emotional safety is born. Not by pretending we're not aging, but by embracing who we are now together. And in that safety, confidence grows again. Touch becomes easier. Desire becomes softer but deeper. The body responds not to perfection, but to presence. For many older adults, the biggest barrier to a fulfilling, intimate life is not physical. It's emotional. It's the years of unsaid things, the fear of rejection, the quiet ache of feeling unseen. But when one person, just one, has the courage to open the door again, everything can change. So let this be your invitation to unlearn the fear, to speak with tenderness, to look at your partner not with doubt, but with curiosity. Because confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about showing up anyway, wrinkled, wise, and wonderfully human. After the fears have been voiced and the silence has softened, a new space begins to open. Not rushed, not pressured, but patient and full of possibility. This is the time to rediscover each other, not as who you once were, but as who you've become. For many older couples, the idea of exploring intimacy again can feel unfamiliar or even intimidating. But it's not about tricks or techniques. It's not about performing. It's about presence. It's about listening, not just with your ears, but with your fingertips, your eyes, your breath. Exploration begins with questions, not expectations. What feels good now? What kind of touch brings warmth, not just to the skin, but to the soul? Where does she carry tension? Where does he hold back? These small questions, asked with gentleness and without pressure, can awaken parts of each other that have long been waiting to be seen. And pleasure, real pleasure, isn't just physical. Sometimes the most intimate moment is brushing her hair or resting your hand over his heart and simply being there. Your bodies may move differently now. They may respond slower. They may surprise you. That's not a flaw. That's a doorway into a deeper kind of connection where laughter becomes foreplay and kindness becomes arousal. Don't be afraid to try new things, not because you must, but because you can. A warm bath shared in silence, a walk while holding hands with no words, a night spent lying close with no agenda, but presence. This is how intimacy becomes art, not a performance to perfect, but a canvas you both paint, slowly, playfully, together. So allow yourselves to explore again, not out of urgency, but out of love. Because the greatest discoveries aren't always made in youth, but in the courage to begin again. So here we are at the end of this quiet unfolding, not a lesson, but a remembrance. A remembrance that love does not fade with time unless we let it. That closeness does not end unless we stop reaching. What you have built together, the home, the years, the memories, is not the end of intimacy. It's the foundation. And now you have something you never had when you were young. Wisdom, patience, understanding. It's easy to believe that romance belongs to the young. But the truth is, the deepest love lives here, in this season of life. In the way he brings you tea without asking. In the way she waits at the door just to see your face when you return. In the silence that no longer feels empty, but safe. You don't need to chase fireworks. You only need to notice the slow burn. Because this kind of love, the one that still chooses, still learns, still listens, this is not less than before. It is more. So if you've felt distant, if you've wondered whether the spark is gone, remember this. The flame never left. It was only waiting for you to stop, to breathe, to reach out again, to see each other not just with your eyes, but with your heart. And when you do, you'll find that love doesn't grow weaker with age. It grows quieter, stronger, deeper. And that is a love worth returning to every day.